All right. Welcome, everyone, to another community spotlight. You may not have seen me for a really long time. I haven't streamed in a really long time, but I am Adrienne Tacke, and I'm here today with a couple of really cool people that I found when I was looking for interesting projects that used MongoDB in some way or have been using MongoDB in general, learning about it. And so I'm really excited to talk to the devs of the game Rise in Time. Everybody, please welcome Mark and Armin. Hello, Mark and Armin.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Really
guys.
excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
Sweet. I see you already have a fan club here. That's just really, really awesome. I like that the community is already behind you on this stream. That's pretty cool. So what you see on the screen right now is the starting point for the game that they've built, and I could not give it the great introduction at all. So I'm going to let Mark and Armin tell you a little bit about their game, just so we're all on the same page about what it is that they've built. And I'm going to let them show you what it is they've built and how awesome it is. So take it away, whoever is sharing.
Yes, thank you very much, Adrienne. Then I guess I'll take over for now for a short introduction. So, my name is Mark. I'm one of the two devs together with Armin, and together we are developing Rise in Time, I think now for about a bit more than 3 years already. It's a free time project, so nothing professional, but yeah, it's fun. And we had quite some effort put in already so far. But let's get to the game itself. I'm trying to keep it short, just so everyone understands what kind of game it roughly is. Primarily, it is a browser-based game. That means it is very easy to access. So you could more or less just open your browser, Google Chrome, Firefox, whatever you're using. You can type in risentime.com. Then you will be redirected to the game page, which is the exact page you see currently on the screen. And here you can just put in your desired name. This will be the name which other players will see you in game as well. So if I put in, for example, let's say tester, I accept the terms and I click on begin, and then you already start playing the game. So the onboarding is pretty easy compared to other games. And now a bit more to the gameplay. What is Rise in Time about gameplay wise? It is, first of all, it's a strategy game. That means there is different kinds of strategies, different moves which you can make on your enemies. And in the end, the idea is that the people with the smartest ideas, with the most innovative strategies, they will win over the others. Let's see a bit more of the in-game UI. Here you can see my starter island. At the beginning, when you create a new account, you will spawn on this small island here. The blue airship is your starting place. And you will start with a couple of units at your disposal. Those are called Druidnaki, and they are your starting army. So from here, the goal is to expand your empire. Currently, you only own this airship here, but all those squared fields, which you can see here, they are empty and they are ready to be taken over. So for example, if I was to send an attack from my airship to this quadratic tile here, this will make a move, and in a couple of seconds, my druids, they will arrive here, and now I also own this second place here. So I already expanded my empire. That's the basic principle of the game. You just want to expand more and more until you are the biggest player on the world, essentially. And in the end, the goal is to go out of your island And to do that, you have to capture this portal in the middle, this big crystal thing. Um, Sadly, I have a small problem here. Okay, now it works. Now I can show you how things will continue once you capture this crystal. Then you will be able to break out of your island. Currently, the island I am on is this one here, which has a blue circle around it. As soon as you break out of the island, you're able to jump to other islands, which you see here. And the goal in the end is to go to the center and reach this island over here, this center island called Crater of Immortality. When you reach this island and you successfully capture it, you will be challenged to hold it for about 1 day, so 24 hours. And if you manage to hold it for 24 hours, you will win the game. That's more or less the basic principles of the game. Of course, there are a lot of details which make the strategy game interesting in the end. There's also a huge focus on the team aspect in Rising Time. So, of course, you're able to play it as a one-man army. And if you are really good at the game, maybe you can even, you can even win a game by your own. But if you play it together with teammates and you use the synergies, which are able to be used within a team, your chances are much better at victory.
I love how that is incorporated into the gameplay. You're actively encouraging playing as a team rather than by yourself. That's really cool. So I found you all. I don't know how I found you, but I found you, I think, either through Reddit or somewhere, and I was so surprised that something so awesome came from our from our tech. So props to that. It looks great. It looks like a really fun game. I have a bunch of questions about that later, but I'd love to know, how did this get started? How did the idea for this game get started? And did you two work with each other for this entire game the entire time, or did somebody start first and then you kind of met each other along the way? Tell us the origins of this game of Rise in Time.
Yes, so I think the idea started quite some time ago, maybe 4 years. So I came up with the idea, and it was based on a similar type of game I played, and also Mark played it. I don't know, it's maybe some now with Tribal Wars or Grepolis, and I saw some issues in this game after playing it a while, like that it's pay to win. It takes really long, and there is not a very good end game. Yeah, and also a lot of other things that before the end can be done better. And then I started building Rise in Time. And at the beginning, I was pretty new to development when I started it, just started my studies. So I was trying out something initially with just HTML, jQuery, some PHP. And then later on, as there was like a proof of concept ready, then we switched I switched pretty quickly to the current stack: Vue.js, Node.js, MongoDB, and Express.
Mm-hmm.
And then, maybe after a few months, I pitched it in the company I was working as an innovation project, and then I got accepted, and were able to do a little project, and that's where I joined up with Mark, and also our designer Robin. And I knew Mark already before from studies, but then we joined up for this project, and since then continued developing it, and now again fully in free time.
Nice. So, Mark, you joined a little bit afterward. What state was the game in once you joined?
Yes, that's true. Armin made a huge part of the beginning of the game. And when I joined, the game was a little bit like it looked a little bit like chess, but with more colors and more variations. So I think we still have a YouTube video up, which is publicly shared, which shows this old layout. I'm not
Uh-huh.
sure. Maybe Armin, can you quickly even get it?
Yeah, or if there are the true fans out there who've been there since the beginning,
Yeah,
maybe
for the
they know.
fans.
Maybe post it in the
Yeah,
chat.
I can actually share real quick.
Nice, very nice.
I found it.
I always love seeing the origins of games, right? You see the iterations of what it's been through. It always looks very interesting.
Yes, and um, we had multiple iterations on the UI style. So as you will see shortly, the start was just 2D. Then we tried something like a hybrid 2D, 3D mode, which there is also a video on YouTube from. And now we have this 3D mode, which you saw in my stream before.
Oh wow, look at this.
Yeah, so that's how the game looked a while back. So there was just it was just some HTML elements, really basic, with some picture in the background. But the basic structure was already there. You had these fields, and you could conquer more fields. But yeah, it was just one layer. There were also some units. There were some pictures, royalty-free pictures for the units.
I think that's super awesome because a lot of people, when they try to do something or start something or create something like this, they always get stuck on this first iteration, right? So seeing this and seeing the progress you've made is probably super satisfying to see. You know, at the time you used what you knew and you were able to create something, and now you have something that has a pretty good following and have a good community around it. And I think it's really cool to see the progress of the game. I'm excited to see what is was coming up next with their game.
Yeah, exactly. And also we learned so many things along the way we just
Yeah.
didn't know, and then we just had to look it up, try it out, and do it.
That's great. When you were explaining the origins of the game, you mentioned a little bit about how the similar games that you were playing, they kind of had, you know, not a good end game experience, or it pretty much just turned into microtransactions or pay to play. How much of that is, you know, plays a part in how you built your game and how you decided to create the game and what your game was going to be?
Yes, I think we could really do a lot of that. For example, the no pay to win aspect is a core value of the game. That everything you can buy are just either cosmetics or just quality of life features.
Hmm.
And also the end game I talked about, we have a pretty clear end game. You have to go to the center, conquer the koi, and hold it. And it also, you only have to play it. The duration is normally a few days and not like a few months in the other games. You also integrated an offline mode, so you have a boost in your offline, which is also an issue in the other games, that you had to kind of had an alarm and be ready during the night. Otherwise, you could lose your cities there.
Hmm.
And then we also have a, I would say, a cool design compared to them.
It's certainly been upgraded a little bit. It looks great, and I think the rest of your community agrees. They are loving seeing where it started and where it is right now. It's always inspiring to see that it doesn't always have to be, you know, finished product, flashy right at the beginning. It's always a process to get there. Um, So tell me, let's go back a little bit to the tech stack. So you said you first started with what you knew, which was a little bit of PHP, some HTML. What problems did you have, or what did you start experiencing as you started to iterate on your game that made you change tech stacks into the one that you had now?
Yes. So when I started, I had some experience in Java development, but like no experience in web development at all. So I just looked up, yeah, what to use, and then also tried out what we had back in the study topic then. And at the beginning, found it really hard to connect the data to the UI with PHP, and I think I switched pretty soon. Then also the UI is pretty hard to put together if you don't have a proper front end framework.
Mhm. All right. And so, as you started to migrate over, what things actually became easier for you? You said you switched over immediately to, did you say Mongo as your data store because you were experiencing problems? Was that one of the first things you switched over?
So yeah, it's like switched over to the whole stack at once.
Oh,
And
that's
it was
ambitious, a full
it was
rewrite.
yeah, it was
Hmm.
pretty early on. I
Hmm.
just did a little bit of testing on the older stack. I'm basically really starting with it on the new stack, and we are pretty happy with the new stack. I think we would choose the same stack if you restarted the project, let's say. But we also
So,
had a lot of problems there we had to overcome, but not really related to the technologies directly.
well, that's still worth talking about. I think we can get into that after we talk a little bit more about the tech stack because I am interested. So, what are you using Mongo for? Are you using it for? I saw you have a wiki. I saw that you have obviously some similar components to other games. So, skill trees, obviously your resource management. What parts of your game are backed by MongoDB?
So we use MongoDB for everything. So all data we store is stored in MongoDB. The users, the field data, team data, messaging, ranking, world data. Yes, all of it.
Sweet. And did you find when you were composing these pieces and developing them, did you have any problems creating them? Did you? And it's okay. I mean, just because you're on the MongoDB stream doesn't mean you have to. Like, tell me more about as you started switching over to Mongo and creating these data stores for all of these pieces. How did that process go? Did you run into any issues, or were things a lot easier for you compared to what you used before?
Yeah, I think compared to, let's say, a SQL database, it's much more easier to use, and also because we use Node.js in the backend, which uses a JSON-like object. Also, MongoDB uses this JSON format, which is really similar. So you
Mhm.
can store the data exactly the same way you use it in the backend and also in the front end. And also that you don't have to define any schemas on the database itself. That also made it pretty easy to start out just posting data onto the database. So we did not really face any big problems there. One challenge with the database, I think, was the fields. There are a lot of these fields on one world.
Mhm. I would
So
imagine.
we thought about how to handle this best, and we came up with a solution that every island is one document that contains all the fields in our array and not
Okay.
have them as separate documents.
Okay.
So we can load them a bit faster. So we can just load the whole island with by retrieving one document from the database.
Nice. That's not bad. That's a very common reason why a lot of people like to use Mongo for the reasons you have described. Um, for the rest of the game, we were talking about this previously for everybody that is watching. I asked what are the some of the newer improvements that have just been released for the game. Or what were the
Uh,
last few things that you've worked on and the last release?
Mark, you want to go with that one?
Yeah, sure. I can try. It's like for you, I can't remember every single change we made during the last time, but I think the focus really was on getting away from our old uh, game modes, which we tried out and we saw it didn't go really well, which was Infinity Worlds. And we tried a new concept, which is called Eternal World. It sounds actually it sounds quite like the same, but maybe the naming is not the best, but it is not the same.
It has
So
nothing to do with the latest Marvel movie release, right?
no, I wish
Okay.
it would, but it doesn't.
It's just
So
coincidence.
yes, probably. No, so yeah, we focused on making the Eternal World a bit more interesting since we started it out as quite something like just a prototype. And now we're trying to add new features to it step by step that make it more worth to play. And the big new thing with Eternal World is an Eternal World is never reset, so it just continues forever. As normally a normal world will be reset once a team wins the world, a tournament world. But that's not the case with an Eternal World. Yeah, and of course also a lot of bug fixes. I mean, each feature we bring out, there will be, I guess, about 10 or more bugs which we have to fix in the end. Uh, but yeah, that's the main focus for now. And of course, also with the release we made, so we had the release, I think, was it at the beginning of October or at the middle? Not sure anymore. Middle of October.
Yeah. Nobody knows what day it
Yeah,
is anymore. It's okay.
it felt like something like a soft release, not really. Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, of course, we had to create something like monetization at
Mhm.
this point, and we didn't have that before the release. So now we also have a basic type of monetization where you can have a subscription, which um, gives you 1 month of extra perks, something like a toolbox. And this toolbox just gives you some convenience, quality of life tools in game that
Mhm.
make your life easier or make you spend less time with chore-like tasks in game and stuff like that. And also some visuals.
Are these quality of life improvements, they do not conflict with your core value of pay to play, would you say?
I wouldn't say. Of
Okay.
course, there's always arguments about that, but
Uh-huh.
I think our our principle is to not sell strength.
Okay.
And with those tools, we don't sell strength. What we sell is a way to spend less time to achieve the same thing. But we don't. You can't pay a couple of bucks to suddenly be have a bigger army than your opponent. That doesn't work.
I respect that, and I commend both of you for keeping with that core value. You see so many games now, they just start out with pay to play, right? Or immediately bombard you with ads for buying their currency or buying something that will give you power in the game. So I really, really like that aspect that you are trying to keep with this game. And you have a fan here. Aaron says, keep working on that monetization feature because they'd like to support.
Thank you. Yes, we will try.
Yeah, we still need to add some more features to it. Right now you can, yeah, there's not enough incentive yet, but still keeping it only quality of life.
So talk to me about this great community that you have. I've peered into the Discord a couple times. That's how I reached out to you. Did you start this community around the same time that you were working on the game, or how did that work? Did you have that initial MVP, the old school one that you showed us on the YouTube video, and that's when you started to think about community? Tell me about how you thought about your strategy to bring this to other game players and how to bring awareness about your game.
Yeah, so the old school game I showed, that I think we only invited friends to test it out,
Hmm.
and then the newer version, it also looked different back then. We had couple of iterations. But
Hmm.
we already started making it publicly available in a, I think in a later alpha, and then a few beta versions. So we had 3 beta versions, and it was always open to join for everyone through the website, or then later also through the app. That's now available in Play Store and also in the App Store. And then yeah, we talked about it on Reddit,
Hmm.
and also on some other social media platforms. And we also did a minimal advertisement with Google Ads to get some users from all around the world.
Nice. Did you find any particular channel gave you the best bang for your buck? Which one brought in more people?
So Reddit is the best one if you want to get
Yeah.
people for free, of course. But Google Ads is also pretty efficient if you want to target the mobile app, or
Hmm.
also the web version if you set it up correctly.
So, do both of you moderate the Discord community actively, or do you have a set person that manages that for you, the community?
Should I answer, Armin, or do you
Yeah,
want to?
can go for it.
Actually, this is a topic which it's not 100% clear how it is supposed to work, but I guess we just try to moderate the chat as good as possible as two. And we also have a third guy, which is normally more active. Currently, he doesn't have too much time, but he's called Ramses, and he is the community manager. And normally, when he is not too busy, he does the major work on the community management in Discord.
Nice. How do you filter all of the requests? I'm sure as your community has grown, you have a lot of people asking, "Oh, fix this," or "Oh, it'd be cool to have this."
Yeah,
How do you filter all of these requests? How do you prioritize? Which ones to work on and which ones are like, "Yeah, we'll get to that way in the future."
yeah, that's a really good question. Like in the past, we always get a lot of feature requests, and then we try to write out the ones that make sense. And in the past, we went over them in the team, and then we decided, yeah, which ones are the most important, and which ones make the most sense. But lately, we couldn't really keep up with all the features suggestions. So we just came up with a new idea. It's called the Player Council, and we just initiated it. And the idea is that to even bind in the community more, we want to have a council that consists of 5 players, and then they can give us like a list of features and balancing requests every month, and then we check which ones are possible, and then we also want to do a vote from this feature list and then implement them directly based on what the community wants. That's the idea, and we will see how this turns out.
I can only imagine because you both mentioned that you do this on your free time, right? You both are fully working on other things full time. And so this is a great segue into a question from the chat, which was how do you balance working and working on the game? And both of you can answer. We could start with Mark since both of you are contributing to this game.
Yes, that's one of the real questions, I guess. Uh, um, the thing is, so far until August of this year, we were both studying. So we worked 60% and we studied for 40%. And usually, when you are studying, you have a bit more of a self-managed time. So I would say there was like a whole day per week which I had more time to work on Rise in Time as well. So before it was pretty manageable, but now where I work 100%, so 5 days a week. Most of the times I can only really work on Ryzen time for real at the weekend. It gets hard. Of course, you can react to emergencies if they occur during the week, but it's increasingly becoming harder, to be honest. Yeah.
And you, Armin, is it pretty similar for you? Is it the time that you have to work on this is usually dedicated on the weekends or maybe at night sometimes?
Yeah, pretty much. So that overall development speed slowed a bit down, but we are still trying to do some features or bugs every week, and then mostly on the weekend and sometimes also on the evenings if I feel up to it, or if there are like urgent bugs, then on the evenings, yes.
So this begs the question, are you open to having help? Are you actively seeking out other people to help you develop the game, or are you just kind of waiting until you have a little bit more free time to continue working on it? Are you open to expanding your team to help out with the development of the game?
Yeah, this is a good question. We also talk about, and for now we are, yeah, we aren't open, and the reason is a bit, it's really hard to, takes a lot of time to onboard someone new into the team, and then yeah, we don't know how long this person will stay. So currently we are not onboarding new people, but maybe that can change in the future when we pick up the topic again.
Fair enough. We have a couple questions from the chat that are pretty interesting. I'll start with this one. So let me bring back your lovely game here because it's awesome. Aaron in the chat asks, how much immersion have you fellows put into the world that you've created?
I had to quickly check up the word immersion.
Ah, no problem.
So I guess the question is how much time you put into it. So is it for the design or for the development?
I think what Aaron means, and correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, immersion, when I read immersion, is the backstories of characters in your game, how much you put into the design of the levels, really giving your player the feeling that they're in the game, they're part of the game, they're, very much part of the story. And I think that's what Aaron is asking. So, how much of that have you put into your game and the world that you've created?
Mark, you want to go for that one?
Yeah, sure. The thing is, with this type of game we made here with Rise in Time, we decided at the start that things like lore, immersion, and storytelling of the world is pretty much not a focus subject. So we always put that a bit behind. We didn't really prioritize it. And so at this point, there is not much of lore or background story or anything like that. But since we have a very creative community, we have the pleasure to either way enjoy lots of fan art about the world of Rise in Time, which shows different angles of Rise in Time, which we didn't see ourselves yet. And
Mm-hmm.
one guy even is creating comic-like stories of some of the characters present in Rising Time. So all in all, we have some fan-made lore and immersion-like things, but also that's one of the things we hope we can improve in the future when there's time for it.
Yes. Yeah, we have like this really basic lore that you want to go to the center, and there is this boss that also awaits you from the airship that will attack you. And then also the units are a bit, as you go more into the middle, they become more like beasts. On the outside, they are more human-like characters.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, as Mark said, the the primary focus is competitiveness. So we really are focusing on making it a game that is fun to compete with others and also fair to compete.
Gotcha. Yeah, we have Aaron again, the same person in the chat. They're talking about a specific character, Axos, saying is always angry. So they were wondering if they had an actual backstory for that particular character. But like you said, you had a very creative community, and it sounds like you're very open to them maybe helping develop the lore for the actual characters in your game. Does that sound right?
Yeah, definitely. Just need to find the time then to also put it into the game, maybe also more into the tutorial or the wiki page.
Maybe that could be another channel that is opened up in your community for lore, and by the time you're done creating the new features for your game, you'll have a fully loaded backstory that's movie ready to be
Uh,
produced.
yeah, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, and we have a lot of people in the chat confirming that they want to help, and they certainly want to help.
Very
So
cool to see that.
that's awesome. Let me just make sure. If you'd love to contribute to that lore that we were talking about, if you have a creative bone in your body and you like writing all of the backstories for characters, or you enjoy creating lore for games, definitely join the Discord for Rise in Time. I'm sure they'd be very open to the ideas you have for the characters and the worlds in their game.
Yes,
So
definitely.
so for this game, do you want to actually go through and play a little bit of it and explain a little bit more in depth of what is happening in the game? Maybe show us how your game is a little bit different from the other games that are similar to this genre, so people can really see what Rise in Time is all about.
Yes, I can try to do that while I have it open. So here I'm on a development version, so everything is in high speed. It should be pretty good to showcase it a little bit. So I'm on the starting island, and when you start in a beginner world, you will have the first enemy you will encounter is a bot, and we changed that sometime because yeah, then you won't lose right at the beginning because the bot is pretty easy to defeat. So your first interaction against another player is a bot, and then as soon as you reach the center, so maybe I can do that here. Now I am attacking from that field to that field, and I can see I conquered it, and then I will get a report showing me what happened. You can
Okay,
also go into more details and see the buffs. Here I have a really high buff because I'm on the dev version.
a little cheat code there. And when you're a
Yeah,
dev, you can be OP all the time.
yeah, but only on development servers.
Yeah,
And then here's the portal in the center. With this, you can kind of teleport your units to the other islands. So your first goal after you conquered some fields and created some units, did some quests here, is to conquer this portal. And once I did that, I I can access all the second level islands, and I can choose whichever I want. And that there is also a unit in the game called Spotter, and this unit allows you to check out the field before you attack it. So
hmm.
if there would be enemies here, I would check, yeah, which one is the easiest to get onto, and then send an army over like that. And then I can join this new island and start expanding in here. And maybe another feature that separates us a bit is the recruiting of the units is fully automated.
Nice.
So I have different units on different types of fields. And once I start the recruitment process, it will just continue as long as the world is running. So even if I go offline, then it will still continue creating units. I just need to check that I do the correct type and also have my skill tree set up properly.
Hmm.
And so this allows you to fully concentrate on the fun part, like the strategizing and fighting against other players. And also it makes creating bots or cheating with a bot a bit obsolete. That was
Mhm.
also a problem in these other games, that you have to do a lot of recurring tasks, and then some players just installed some plugins that everything was done for them.
Yep.
So, and in here, everything that is a recurring task is already automated. And then there are also some event fields, for example, treasures. If I conquer a treasure, then I get an initial reward. And then there's a countdown. And every time this countdown ends, the player that owns the treasure will get a reward. And then there are these artifacts, they give buffs to the whole team. And then when I go further into the circle of the world, I will encounter better treasures and also control fields, which allows you to create special units that have a very unique effects you can research. There's like a known skill tree for these special
Mhm.
units. And then they make the fights within the late game really interesting.
These other areas and rings of islands look super cool. It kind of ties in to one of the questions we have here from the chat. Karen asks, what kind of games inspired both you, Mark, and Armin to become game developers, or to at least try and creating this kind of game?
Mark, I think it was
Yep.
the same games for us, or yeah.
Say that again one more time. Do you have a
Yeah. So
name of games?
one game we played both, that is Tribal Wars. It was created by InnoGames, a German game company,
Hmm.
and another one is Grepolis, also developed by them. And there is third one, Travian, which I haven't played before. Yes, Mark, do you know any other?
No, for me it was just one of those. It was Tribal Wars. Yeah, pretty much that, in combination with the frustration because it was paid to win, and yeah, that was pretty
You
much it. And of
nice.
course, also in general, uh, fascination for game development and the infinite amount of possibilities you have when creating your own world. Yeah.
I think that's what gets a lot of us started, or at least interested in it, right? You have some sort of inspiration, or you have a game that you really, really like. And even if it was the greatest game ever, like I think Age of Empires is the greatest game ever, there are always ways to make it your own. And so it's a pretty cool reasoning behind why you created this game, especially the fact that you want to keep it no pay to play whatsoever.
Yes, yeah. Age of Empires has some similarities too, I would say.
That's my absolute all-time favorite game.
Definitely.
Aside from yours, of course. I have to play it a little bit more. We have another really great question from your amazing community, and that's, do you plan to have tournaments or esports for Rise in Time?
I think that would be really cool if we grow a bit bigger, because it's a really competitive game and could work for esports. Only it's not really that interesting to stream, because it's actions you do over a long period of time.
Well, you never know. The community here already is already fairly engaged and involved. I think that would be an advantage for you, right? Nobody whenever you find these niches that people are very, very passionate about, they're usually way more engaged. And so you never know. What would it take for you to start a tournament, or start maybe the very first one event out of the year tournament style? What would it take for you? What needs to be ready and done for you before you would even consider running a tournament for your game?
So we already have this game mode that is called tournament, and
Okay.
it's yeah, you can sign up for it. You can reserve an island, like a week ahead, and then make sure you start at the right time.
Huh.
So
See? You
the
already have
setup
the
is in
infrastructure.
place. Yeah, we just had to call it maybe differently, and but the infrastructure would definitely not be that big of an effort.
Well, you already have a volunteer commentator here from Wondering Cat. I'm not sure if you may know them or not, but you certainly have people interested in helping you achieve this goal.
It's very nice to
Yeah,
know.
cool.
Thank
I
you.
think I know who he is in Discord, or she.
Awesome. And we have someone from the Twitch chat, the great Devin, just checked out the game. Looks very well made. Congrats, all.
Thank you.
So, the last question I want to talk about is so obviously, as you started to build this game and you started to grow your community and you had more and more people joining the game, did you find any problems in scaling your game at all and accommodating the amount of players that were joining your game as you continue to develop?
Yes, we had at the beginning we had quite some problems. For example, in the backend, we use a Node.js, so which basically runs on on only one. I forgot the word for it. Only one runs on one node, and you can parallelize it. There is
Hmm.
a way to do it, but basically in Node you don't do it because you have this JavaScript event loop that allows to continue doing doing work while asynchronous actions are going on.
Correct. Hmm.
Yes,
And
and so
so,
this works pretty well for input output operations and database calls because whenever you call a database, the server will just do the other stuff. But then we had a lot of tasks that were just calculating things like total amount of units or when should we give out rewards or calculate the ranking. And these were quite heavy on the back end. So
mhm,
while these tasks were running because they are asynchronous, then we had some lag for the input output operations. So the user could feel when he was using the UI that sometimes the request took longer. And to fix that, we separated the backend into two node applications. One
okay,
that is doing all the heavy processing stuff and calculating everything, and the other one that just handles all the input output operations. And then it
gotcha.
worked out pretty well.
As a follow-up to that, I'm assuming the data sizes also had to scale with the amount of players that you accumulated over the years of building this game. Uh, you are using MongoDB Atlas as your backend for this, right? Was that a big? How did that play into helping you scale?
So that also helped. Initially, we had it set up on a platform as a service, but at some time we switched over to MongoDB Atlas,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really cool cloud service from MongoDB.
Mm-hmm.
And MongoDB Atlas basically does the scaling for you, and it's really easy to scale with it. And in terms of data amount, we actually don't have that much data in like gigabytes because everything is text based. All the UI images are loaded from the front end. So
Yes.
and text data does not take up a lot of space. So from disk space, we never had to expand a lot, but more to handle the operation amount.
Nice. Do you foresee any other growth changes happening soon? Like I said, your community is always growing. They're very engaged. Every time I check into your Discord, it seems there are more people there. Do you find that you'll probably have to upgrade your cluster pretty soon?
We just upgraded the cluster.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
because when we had a problem when starting a tournament that the the speed was limited on our current cluster,
Hmm.
and so we had a problem of generating a new world, and then we upgraded it, and now everything works perfect again, and
Nice.
that should hold for a while, I think.
What cluster are you using now, or what did you upgrade to just recently?
To the I think the M10 dedicated cluster.
Gotcha. You hear that, folks? It should be a lot smoother for you now that it's growing. All right, that is awesome. Let me double check. I think we have a couple more questions. Oh, Aaron here. Aaron is a very, you should give Aaron some swag or something because he has a lot of questions, but says something like, would love to see a ladder system and more functionality for teams. Perhaps that's later on the roadmap. Is there anything that you could speak to? Are you actually possibly working on that already, or is that something that you're hearing for the first time?
Should I answer, Armin?
Yeah, go for it.
I think before the release, we had many points also on our to-do list that concern team functionality. So make it so teams have more of an impact in rising time, or to give even more importance to having a good team. For now, we put those things a bit back, but I think with this new player council, if enough people are interested in such features, they will get priority by the majority votes, essentially. So it's very possible, if you guys are interested in that, that something like that will come soon.
All
Yes.
right. So it's a democracy then. Put your voice or make your voice heard on their Discord. And the last question I will have, which is I'm trying to find here, it's probably from Aaron, but let me find it anyway. Uh, and it because I think it's a great ending note here. So they are very we've obviously seen that this you have a fan club here. Everybody really, really loves your game and wants to see it succeed. Are you considering a Kickstarter campaign again? Seems like you had one before, but it didn't go through, or but I guess let's just stick to the question. Are you considering a Kickstarter campaign for your game?
Yeah, we had one really early on. If you consider another one, that's a good question. Currently, not, but maybe that can change as well.
Just add a couple more features until it's ready, right? Then it'll be good for tournaments, it'll be good for the Kickstarter, and everything will be great. Any other questions in the chat? Feel free to add them in. We're almost at the end of our hour. This has been a really, really great chat that we've had with both of you, Mark and Armin. Thank you for joining us, for showing us your game. It's a really great example of showing what is possible with not just MongoDB, but with the creativity that you have, especially if you have a passion for it. I really, really like the core value that you have with your game, which is no pay to play. So you will never be OP by money. You know, you have to play the game in order to enjoy it to the fullest. And thank you, just thank you for coming in and sharing your story and showing what a lot of these projects and games can really turn out to be. They start out with a couple people who are really passionate on their free time, and it can grow into something really awesome, just like your game.
Yeah, thank you, Adrienne, for reaching out and giving us this opportunity. It was a pleasure.
Yes, thanks a lot. It was really cool talking about the game and MongoDB.
No problem. It was an honor having you both. And I think the last question that is here, and then we'll end the stream. Somebody asks, when do you plan on adding background music?
Yeah, we have this feature on our feature list as well as so many others, and we can't say an exact date, but it will come. So when it's certainly something we wanna add. Yes.
Maybe put it to a vote on your Discord. Then everybody can go upvote it, and then it will go to the top of their feature list. Right? Right, community?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, everybody in the chat. Let's give some claps for Armin and Mark. Thank you so much for joining us on the MongoDB stream. We love seeing these kinds of projects. If any of you know of any other really awesome people, really awesome projects, it doesn't even have to be fully blown out like this one. If you're using MongoDB in any capacity, I'd love to hear about it. We'd like to show your awesome projects on stream. So definitely find the MongoDB Twitter or find me on Twitter, Adrienne Tacke. We'd love to show you, just as we've shown Armin and Mark's really cool game. Don't forget to go check out the game itself. So go to risentime.com if you want to check out their game and start playing it. And lastly, please join their Discord community. Join them. They need help with the lore, they need help with the background stories of their characters and their game, and in general, they want you to be there to help build the community so they can continue to make this game super awesome, way more than it already is. Thanks again, Mark and Armin, and that'll be it. See you all.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. See you.